Welcome to the More Than Just Dumbbells podcast. I'm still Jason Lindsay.
And I'm still Kitty Truex. Welcome back.
Thanks for tuning in, watching this on YouTube, or listening to it on Apple Podcasts and others. But Apple Podcasts would be my choice.
Why?
Well, plus it's easy to review.
It is.
And we love reviews.
It sure is.
Those make
Feedback
us,
is priceless.
Those make us really happy. Kitty, let me ask you this. Have you ever had, especially as an adult,
okay,
but if the only time was a kid, that's fine
sure,
too. But but especially as an adult, had like an injury that set you back. You know, you hurt your knee, your ankle, you sprained something. It could have been a week, could have been a month, could have been a year.
I've had my back go out.
Oh,
yeah.
What happened?
Yeah. Well, it had to do with. It was actually like an energetic thing where
Okay.
I had to be around someone that really I didn't enjoy, and I couldn't voice that I didn't enjoy them. So instead, the dis-ease came out in my body, and my back went out. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible, and it was doing something that was just like twisting to the side to say hi to someone, and it just went out. So mine was very energetic.
I got some questions about this. So you're attributing it to being in the presence of somebody that was bothering you. In other words, that I'm not denying this. This is interesting. So that
So I'll just my brother's father. We do not have the same father. My brother's father is a piece of work.
Okay.
I can't say anything like that in front of my brother. I can't say, I can't speak my truth or be authentic.
Sure.
And because I had to suppress those emotions, the emotions dis-ease came out in my back going out.
Wow.
Because it happened twice.
So
only around
in
him.
theory, you're kind of internally clenching up.
1,000%.
And so that makes your body more rigid and whatever. Okay. And
I think that's a good way to put it. That's a good analogy.
So then what happened is you were out of commission for a period of time?
I would say probably about a week and a half.
What did you do, or how did you handle it? Did you go seek help? Did you get?
I did.
Yeah?
I did the chiropractor. I did the icy hot, the massages, energetic work, sauna, the whole thing. Heat, ice.
Good for you.
Yes.
The reason I bring it up is our guest today is a chiropractor, Dr.
Matthew Chalmers.
My bad.
Dr. Matthew Chalmers.
So Dr. Matthew Chalmers, and he specializes in this kind of thing, right?
It sounds to be that way, yes.
And
recovery and rehabilitation.
The reason I ask is I didn't know the answer. Believe it or not, these aren't scripted. I don't know what you're going to say. But I think a lot of people would say, no, I just gutted it out. You know what I mean? Like I got hurt. Like you went and saw professional help. But
yes,
I have a friend that would have just dealt with it and just hoped it got better.
I understand that, yes. Okay.
And we've got a guest on who's, I'm going to make a prediction, is like, no, you don't do that. You come see somebody like me and here's why.
Right. Let's rehabilitate rather than mask it with pharmaceuticals or take the pain away in some way that's really not taking the pain away.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean?
Because I think that there are, as we get older, especially if you've ignored... Well, let me say it this way, especially if you've not taken very good care of your body. And that wasn't in your case, but in a lot of people's cases, and all of a sudden they're 49 or they're 56, and
their joints are aching.
And maybe they try to do something that they shouldn't be doing. I don't know what that would be, playing pickup, whatever.
Sure.
It could be just going down the stairs or up the stairs or down
Could be picking up something off the patio or pantry.
Or trying to put your overhead in the compartment in the airplane.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then you tweak something, and all of a sudden now you're just dealing with Bengay and Band-Aids for like a month or two or forever or for a long period of time. So what we want we want this guy
and sometimes those tweaks, you never recover fully from them if you don't go and get help.
Correct.
You know.
So we want the doctor on to kind of maybe help people understand why, even though there's always usually a cost financially, which might be a deterrent, but why that's a good idea.
Well, you pay it now and you don't have to pay it then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He also, he uses this term that I really enjoy. He said wellness is health over time. So he's really into the longevity. I know you and I have just discussed longevity quite a bit actually lately, where the longevity of your wellness or your health is what are you doing over time. And I really kind of want to dig into that a little bit, just because, it's like, what type of things do you feel like people should really be paying attention to right now? He has a book called The Pillars of Health.
Oh, yeah.
So I really want to ask, like, what are your pillars, or what do you feel would be the easiest, most, efficient ways of starting thinking about your longevity?
No, I love it. I dig it. The 5 pillars of health, you said?
I'm not sure exactly how many they are. We can ask him.
Cool.
Yeah. Plus, he also has a pretty awesome fitness training routine. He also says, don't work out, train. Like, training as a goal. You're going towards something if you're training. Working out is just showing up to move your body, which that's the way he thinks about it. I kind of want to pick his brain about that.
Well, he's not, and he knows this. I'm not telling something that he doesn't know, but he's not the first person or the only person to say that.
Sure.
I've heard that plenty times in my life in this industry. There might be a distinction there without a difference, depending on what your mind means by working out.
What is the perspective you're coming from when you say that?
But I like it. I'm not disagreeing with it. It's like I train.
And I want to know what his training
for
routine
what?
is. Yeah, exactly. What are you training for? Exactly. So it is a goal-oriented type of a thing. So I really do look forward to hearing his expertise in this because he's been a chiropractor for over 20 years.
Let's zoom him up.
Let's dig it.
Dude.
You're listening to the More Than Just Dumbbells podcast, sponsored by PowerBlock. After the show, head on over to powerblock.com and you'll find a wide range of adjustable dumbbells and resources to help you build the new you in 2022. We're PowerBlock, your resolution solution. And now, back to the show.
Kitty, we're back, and we've got Dr. Matt Chalmers via Zoom all the way from, I think, Frisco, Texas. Is that right, Doctor?
It is, yeah. We're in Frisco.
Texas.
I don't... Texas is huge. It's big. You could fit many states in it. And I was just watching Hell or High Water, the movie, and have you seen this? And it's towns out in West Texas. But that Frisco, what part of Texas is Frisco in? I don't even know.
So we butt up against Plano. And so it goes kind of Dallas, then Plano, then us.
Yes, that's right.
Dig it.
Is it considered Dallas-Fort Worth metro area?
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that, but they were like, let's get the largest possible group of random people together and just call it one place.
Yeah.
Because Dallas and Fort Worth are nothing alike.
Right.
And they're like an hour apart. So
yeah.
I don't even know what to tell you about that.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in Frisco? Have you always been a Texan?
No, I grew up in Oklahoma. Oh. And then when I came down here for school, and then I was like, there's no way I'm leaving. So that's kind of how that happened.
Dig it. Now you have a practice, Chalmers Wellness, in Frisco, Texas. Is that correct?
That is correct.
ChalmersWellness.com, P.S. Go ahead, check that out.
There you go.
Yeah. And what do you do there? Now it's rehabilitation, trying to recover. What's the main thing that you do there, Doc?
So we do a lot of things. So one of the things we do is we reset and we maintain biomechanical function of the body. So how are you moving? How are you sitting all day? Where are your monitors? Like things like this. We get the neurology and the musculature tone and the joint mechanics back where it's supposed to be. And then we do a lot of nutrition. And I'm that weird nerd who can't stop reading. And so we've been able to fix fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue and all sorts of other IBS and celiac and all sorts of crazy things. And so people come in for that. And I'm the one that all my medical buddies send me when they're like, look, I trust this person is messed up, but I can't find anything. So they're yours now. And so I'm like, okay. So that's still what we do. We do a lot of cancer cleanup. So after people have cancer, we make it so they won't have cancer again, type of thing.
Wow. I mean, no pressure, doctor. At all.
Right.
Wow.
So Matt, tell everybody or tell us, how you got into that. Did you know you wanted to get into wellness and be a chiropractor since you were a kid?
What actually happened was I wanted to be a medical doctor, and I was playing football in high school, and I hurt my back and I couldn't walk anymore. And so I went and saw orthopedic surgeons, neurosurgeons, spines, everybody. If you had a license to look at me, I saw you. And finally, after about a month doing this, I go into this room, and at the time I'm bench pressing about 400 pounds. I'm squatting about 600 pounds. And they send this kid in to talk to me who looks like he'd never seen the sun. And he's about 155 pounds. And he says, look, with all of our genius knowledge, can't find anything wrong with you. So you must be lying. And there's nothing wrong with you. You just don't want to play football anymore. And I remember looking at him as, if I could reach you, I'd break you in half.
Ooh.
And he was just like, he was astonished that calling me a liar and a fraud would in some way upset me. And I'm like 16 at the time, so I have very little kids. And so my parents helped carry me out. So I called my football coach. I'm like, hey man, I can't walk. I can't play anymore. He said, go see our team chiropractor. And because life is irony, to this day, I still remember telling him, I need a doctor, not a massage. And he said, look, it's free. Just go. I was like, fine. My parents literally carried me in, put me on the table. He looks at the x-rays the medical guys had for like an hour. He goes, click right there. He's like, it's right there. And so he adjusts me, and I got up, hobbled out, and back to practice 3 days later. And I was like, okay, I want to work with athletes. I don't want to ever be in the position where if I can't figure it out, it's the patient's fault. So that's how I got into chiropractic.
Wow.
So that's kind of the whole story of why I shifted over from the medical to the chiropractic realm.
That's huge, though, that made such a massive impact on your trajectory. Because like you said, you're an athlete. You've been an athlete for what, 30 years plus now?
Yeah.
What kind of athlete are you, Doc?
So it's funny because I've always enjoyed weightlifting, played football, played a bunch of stuff. Now I've kind of altered my course. And so I lift and I do some HIIT stuff, but that's my whole vision now is I'm going to work out and I'm going to exercise my body. I'm going to put it in a position so that I'm going to be better when I'm 70 and 80, because I don't want to have back pain. I don't want to have joint pain. I want to be functional and I want to have a high quality of life when I'm 80. And so that's kind of what I'm lifting for and how I'm exercising for today.
So Matt, you mentioned that you've had friends who are medical doctors say, I've got somebody, I can't figure it out. It's here, have them and figure it out. That's pretty cool. But do you have a garden variety patient? Like, what do people typically come to you for?
Oh, yeah. So the typical patients we have either come in with some pain or they come in and they just say, look, we want to do wellness, and wellness is forward looking. So a lot of the sick care or the care we have now is backwards looking. So you've had a heart attack, you've had a stroke, you've had cancer. How do we deal with that now? My guys come in, they say, look, I don't want to have a heart attack. I've got kids, I've got, whatever. So we need to do forward-looking studies. And so we'll do echocardiograms, we'll do calcium CTs, sleep studies, hormone studies, inflammatory blood panels, muscle testing. We do all sorts of weird stuff between Eastern and Western medicine combined that kind of tells us what is going on with you and what do we need to be worried about in the future. So for instance, we've been seeing a lot of people with circulatory inflammation, which is putting more pressure on their heart.
Okay.
And so we're doing echocardiograms with people and we're finding weird stuff like lower ejection fraction, which is where they're not kicking enough blood out of the heart. We're seeing issues with, inferior vena cava problems. So they have too high pressure in the right atrium that no one knew about. They don't have a problem, but that can kill you in 10 or 15 years because we found that today we can fix it and they will not have an issue in 15 years.
Fantastic.
So that's my typical patient, just someone who wants to stay well.
Yeah.
So
now, go ahead, Jay.
Well, if you're seeing a typical patient like that, then that typical patient is likely often overweight, and you mentioned nutrition. So you get into that. How do you help them lose weight? Because I'm guessing that's a big part of what you do, right?
Yeah. So one of the fun things people don't understand is that people are different. And I know we talk about, that, but no one ever sits down and goes, look, the diet that your husband or wife or best friend eats is not the same thing you need to eat. You rely on a different fuel source. And so we're starting to talk about somatotyping. So like, look, you're an endomorph. You need to eat fat and run on fat. You're an ectomorph. You need to run on carbohydrates and sugars. And so that's the problem. Then we have the mesomorphs. Everyone goes, well, I want to eat like Arnold Schwarzenegger because I want to look like that. Well, he has a very specific body type. If you eat exactly what he ate, it will only work for you if you're that same body type. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing we do is we sit down and we figure out what fuel source do you need to be on, fat, carbohydrates, whatever. Then we start shifting over to that over time. And that's just kind of the big thing that we start getting into.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. Now, I noticed your Pillars of Wellness book behind you.
Yes.
Yes. I actually wanted to know, what are kind of the insights, or why would I want to get that book on Amazon? Why would I want to read that book? What is that book going to give me, or what would I get out of that?
Good question.
So everyone's starting to kind of get into a holistic wellness approach. And what I've started to learn over 15 years is that you can fix the biochemistry pretty easily. You can teach somebody to work out pretty easily. So the first year, you can fix a lot of problems. The issue that we run into is, where's your mind at? What's your mindset? Are you going to work out if you don't want to? If you feel kind of bad, are you going to just use it as an excuse to skip your workout? Right. Are you going to let your interpersonal relationships destroy your life? And then what are you going to do for your legacy? Like, that's a really big piece. When we start talking about your holistic being and holistic wellness, that's a big piece of what are you going to do to make sure that you've benefited society.
I love that. I would read that book. Thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of us...
Where can we get the book?
Well, you can get it on Amazon. I believe it's an ebook, isn't it? You can also get it on Kindle.
Yes.
So, all of the above, Jason. Go for it.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. Check it out. Now, on top of the Pillars of Wellness, you also said something, and I mentioned this in the the intro, As I did my deep dive onto your Instagram, you mentioned wellness is health over time. Did you want to kind of dig into what that means to you or what that means to our listeners? What exactly are you trying to formulate with that idea?
Yeah, so that goes into the pillars of wellness is that, if we work really hard and we get really healthy right now, and then we stop doing everything, we don't create a long-term vision, a long-term plan, you might be healthy today, but you're not going to be healthy in 6 months or a year. And so what we talk about is we say, look, what we're trying to do with wellness is get you as healthy as possible, raise your quality of life as high as possible, and then come up with a plan so we can sustain that for the longest period of time. And so that's the whole piece of what we're trying to do is, okay, we're going to clean your body up. We're going to put you on this maintenance supplementation route. We're going to teach you how to eat. We're going to teach you how to exercise. And then we're going to start getting you working on your mind and everything else so that you can maintain, like I said, a high quality of life for as long as we can. Most of the time that involves, even playing a little bit in the medical realm and bringing some hormone therapy in or something like that, because we have to get the body physiologically set. And sometimes we have to use medication for that, but we try to use as little as possible.
Sure.
Matt, can you give us an example of a super cool kind of transformation story, maybe a recent one? I'm sure you have got a lot. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but my guess is you can think of a few. Maybe somebody who lost a lot of weight. Maybe not a lot, but, something that changed their life, in a positive way.
So one of the first guys I started working on comes into my office, and he's probably 60 pounds over fat. And I specify over fat with people because you can have a lot of muscle and be quote unquote overweight, but still really healthy. Mm-hmm. This guy is substantially over fat. And he says, look, my doctor says I'm fine, but I don't think I'm fine because I feel terrible. My best friend was the fittest guy I knew, and he just had a heart attack on the soccer field and died. Oh and he's like, I have 2 little girls. I can't die. You have to help me. And so the first thing we did was we ran a sleep study on him. The guy had massive apnea. He had low testosterone. He was eating, what he thought was a good diet because he was eating some vegetables and some lean meats. This guy is a massive endomorph. So he's taking in way too much sugar. And so we cut the sugar out, got his testosterone up, got his sleep apnea fixed, taught him to exercise properly. And within 2 months, he'd lost 40 pounds of fat. And we changed all of his blood markers. And so his inflammation was cut in half. Everything got better. The other thing that was special with him was his cholesterol was quote unquote totally perfect. We did a calcium CT with him and found out he had a 40% blocked artery to his heart. Wow. And so that, had he kept going, would have ended up killing him. And so we were able to get out ahead of that. And so that's one of the ones I really like because it was kind of one of those things where he realized that he had to change because he might die. And he was willing to do everything we told him to do up front. And we found all kinds of problems. We were able to fix them all. So that one was a really, really fun story.
Well, and that just goes to show that you go to a medical professional, and there's nothing wrong with you, but you know your body more than anybody. So he came to you and says, they're saying there's nothing wrong, but I know something's wrong. So therefore that you believe them from your traumatic moment when the 155-pound guy said you're lying. You get to kind of take people that maybe have been told the same thing and absolutely change their lives.
Yeah, that's really fun. Yeah, the other side is that there's not a lot of medical doctors who are really athletes. And so they don't understand the blood work when it comes back. So I had a patient come in Saturday, and he calls me up because I was out Friday, so I agreed to see him Saturday. And he's like, man, I'm so scared. My doctor says I'm going to have type 2 diabetes. He said I was abusing steroids. He said my cholesterol's messed up. I'm going to have a heart attack. He's like, I'm super scared. What's going on? Guy comes in, he's 6'2", maybe 10% body fat. He works out twice a day. And so my first question to him is, what's your fasting schedule? And he's like, 19.5. I'm like, cool. You're on keto, aren't you? He kind of looks at me sideways and goes, how did you know that? And I was like, if you're on keto and you're fasting, your resting fasting glucose is going to be higher because you're producing your own glucose through gluconeogenesis. So it's always going to be higher. You don't have diabetes. This is your body's just working properly.
Wow.
And so he's got 1,200 testosterone level, because he did the blood draw the day after he took the shot the night before. So he's at peak now, but because the doctor's lab said 900 was the most, the doctor told him that it was too high. He has 0 calcium score. So basically, his ALT, AST numbers are high because he works out. The issue wasn't that this guy has a problem. The issue was that the doctor who was reading his labs had no idea how to work with athletes. Yeah. And that's something we see all the time.
Yeah.
So now that makes total sense. But since you've clearly established yourself, even just in the few minutes, as not a typical chiropractor, and that's a compliment. I'm guessing, and you don't have to, you can say what you want, but I'm guessing you're critical of other chiropractors because they're not very many of them are like you, right? I mean, I've been to some chiropractors. There's plenty that aren't doing what you're doing.
Not really. So I have friends who are fat surgeons who are amazing at what they do. They're gifted by God to be able to be these amazing surgeons, but they don't come out and tell you, hey, you should listen to me about your health advice. They're just like, if you've got a torn ACL, I'm your guy. Or if you need surgical spine surgery, I'm your guy. Cool. What irritates me is when people come out, MD or DC, and they give bad advice and they're overweight and they have no personal idea, no real research idea of what they're talking about. And they tell you these things as if they're accurate. And that's what bothers me. So if a chiro just wants to adjust, cool, man. If that's your thing,
Sure.
knock it out.
Right.
Just don't step outside of your knowledge realm and give people bad information. That's the thing that irritates me.
Well, and that's a great segue because you actually practice the lifestyle of longevity that you're trying to provide for your patients. So I kind of wanted to ask, like, what are some of the things that you add into your routine to keep your attitude as gratitude and to keep, that mindset going so that you can practice what you preach, in essence?
So I've been working on the attitude piece for a long time. People who knew me 15, 20 years ago, and people who see me now are like, you're a totally different person. But, my wife has also helped me with that because when you find someone who's better than you and you latch onto them, they kind of they rub off on you. So, but the big piece on the mental piece is, what am I doing wrong? Why am I doing it? And how can I fix it and make it better? And, you can go through and you say, like, one of the ways that you can really decrease your stress is look at your finances and go, do I really need all the things I have? Like, how much joy do I get out of this fancy car? Like, how much joy do I get out of this thing? How important is this to my life? How important is this thing to my children? And kind of that's how I reshape my mind of, I don't need these things because my goal is to be a good dad and be a good doctor. I don't need cars and this and that. And so when the need for all that went away, I realized that I could live my life real easily on what I have. So that's one of the pieces. The other thing is I'll do 2 coffee enemas a week. I do hyperbaric for an hour every day. And I drink, almost 2 gallons of water. I work out 5 days a week. I take like 20 or 30 supplements a couple times a day. So it's one of those things and the other fun thing is that I will always do, before I tell somebody, you should get an echocardiogram, I'll have one done on me so that I can talk to you about it. And I can look, when I did this thing, this is what happened. There's nothing that I tell people to do that I have not already done or I'm not currently doing.
I love that your expertise comes from experience. I think that's massive, especially with doctors. So thank you for being one of those.
Matt, should everybody see a DC from time to time?
Yes. The thing is that with the alignment in the joint, and what a lot of chiros don't get, and they don't explain very well, is the neurology. The reason chiropractic actually works has nothing to do with popping joints. That's just a really awesome side benefit. What happens is that when you move that joint really quickly, there's little neuromechanoreceptors inside the joint called a muscle spindle fiber or a Golgi tendon organ. They're 2 different receptors. They send tremendous amounts of information to the brain. And the brain can actually reset what's called postural tone. So remember, muscles have 2 things. They have strength, which is how hard they can pull at any one given time, and tone, which is how hard they're pulling all the time. People refer to that as posture. So you can start to affect joint motion, and you can start to affect muscular function by adjusting the joint and getting the joints to move again. So, whether you sit wrong, like women sit on their feet, guys, sit funny. We put our heels behind our knees when we're sitting. We sit too long. We'll, fall downstairs. Like, there's all sorts of things that are going to mess our body up that we need to get put back together. We lift too heavy. Like, that used to be my big thing. I'd do shrugs and knock my occiput out and have to get my skull put back together, like on an almost weekly basis. So there's lots of little things we're going to do to our bodies that are going to push it out of perfect function. And the only way to really get that back sometimes is with a chiropractic adjustment.
I don't know if you noticed, but both Jason and I both moved our feet right below our knees after you said that. We're like,
I was just checking. I was fine. I was okay. I wasn't great, but I was okay. No,
so thanks for that reminder. Yeah. Now, you just said you take like 30 supplements numerous times a day. I kind of want to ask, in your expertise, what are maybe like the top 3 or 4 that you feel like everyone that you've come in contact with or humans just in general need to add to their routine to be better, to feel better.
So the first thing we have to do is make sure that we've killed all the yeast in the gut and killed all the parasites and move those up. But once that's done, a methylated B vitamin and a multi-B vitamin. So B2, B6, B12, all of them. B2 helps you sleep. B6 helps clean the liver out and reset congealed bile salts, so your bile starts working again, so you can emulsify fats. So B6 is really critical. But they need to be fully methylated because your body will not methylate if it's stressed out. And so 99% of us are stressed out to some degree, so a fully methylated B vitamin is going to be important. The other one is going to be CoQ10. CoQ10 helps our body create what's called ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. That is the currency that all your muscles use, your brain uses, everything. So every time your heart beats, it uses a lot of ATP. Whenever you think, whenever you move, you're using tons of ATP. CoQ10 is also a very powerful antioxidant, so it helps destroy free radicals. And so that one's just a really, really good one to take no matter what. As we start going down, there's a couple other ones that I take. I take Tudkep, which is a real powerful liver decongestant and cleans the liver real well. I take, what else do I take? So I take iodine every day because I want to feed my thyroid, because in America, we don't eat a lot of foods that have iodine in them. I take fulvic minerals every day in my water. That helps give me all my electrolytes and micronutrients and that type of thing. So those are some of the ones that I would always recommend that people take, because that's going to help the most. If you're working out really hard, taking a turmeric that has either black pepper or ginger with it will help kind of keep that soreness away. So that's also a really good one that I take every day.
I love that. Turmeric with ginger or black pepper, you said?
Dig it.
Yes.
Nice. Thank you for those. One of the other quotes that I saw on one of your Instagram posts was, every exercise is 2 directions. What does that mean? Or can you explain what that means to our listeners?
So I don't ever say anything to people in the gym, but I don't hide my facial expressions really well. So that's why I built my own gym. But what people will do is they'll either swing the weights or they'll get up to the top and they'll just let go and let it slam back down. The most important thing is that you get a full range of motion in your lift. And so you're going to get this full range of motion in the contraction, and then that negative piece is super important. But you have to make sure you go through the whole range of motion again. So that's the big piece is the slow up and slow down. Make sure that you're moving both directions properly. Even on bench, people let it come down way too fast, and then they throw it back up.
Intentional with both directions is what I'm hearing.
That's
awesome.
correct.
Wonderful advice. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's great advice. Cool.
And one of the other ones that we saw is train, don't work out.
Yeah.
Or something like that. What does that mean to you? Because we discussed that in the intro as well. What does that mean to you, doctor?
Okay, so football's the greatest example. Okay, so you have offensive linemen, defensive linemen, tight ends, quarterback, running back, defensive backs. If they all worked out the same, they would not be any better at their positions. So training is working out with a goal in mind. I need to get more balance. So I'm going to work out in this manner. I'm going to train my balance. I want my biceps to be more sculpted. I'm going to train my biceps by really focusing on form. So the problem is that if you're training and you have a goal and you have a function and you're in there for a reason and you're really focused on it, you will most often not only get your goals, but you're going to be more consistent at working out in the gym. If you just go to the gym because working out is important, then you're going to do not a great job working out, and you're going to have more reasons to just skip. I don't feel that great, or it's raining or it's cold outside. I don't want to walk the distance to the gym. So that's the thing. So be specific, be intentional on why you're doing the things you're doing. And that's the big piece with training over working out.
That's the word, the magic word, intention is pretty much what I
Wonderful
heard.
advice.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Trivia time.
Before that, I want to know, how do I find you, follow you, and friend you, Dr. Matt Chalmers?
So chalmerswellness.com should have a link to all my social. All my social is Dr. Chalmers 1. The only one that's different is if you go to the Facebook groups where I put all of my personal stuff up, that's Wellness Insights with Dr. Chalmers. So if you go to the Facebook groups and type in Wellness Insights, you should be able to find it.
And that's a free group that you can join, that you actually get a lot of your nuggets every morning. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, so I'll put something in there every morning from each of the pillars, and then that's where I like to communicate back and forth with people. So if they ask me, hey, how do I get this, or is this better than that? And that's usually where we'll have that conversation.
Sweet. Yeah, go join the Facebook group and check out Pillars of Wellness, chalmerswellness.com. You ready to play some trivia?
Yeah,
Doc?
let's do it.
Yeah.
All right.
it is now time for the Fitness Inquisition.
No one ever expects the Fitness Inquisition.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's how it's going to work. I've got 5 magical fitness-related trivia questions, and I'm going to read out the question, and if you know the answer, I want you to use your name as your buzzer. So just shout out your name, and then whoever I hear shout their name first, I'm going to turn that question over to you, give you the chance to answer it. If you get it right, we'll let you know. We'll reward you. If you get it wrong, we'll embarrass you for it. So no pressure whatsoever. So if everybody's ready, let's jump right into this.
Ready.
Ready.
Good.
Okay, question number 1. How many bones are in an adult human body?
Jason. Come on. All right, go ahead.
206.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Wait, would have got that in the old system, just letting you know. There's a delay for the guest, so she gets on me to wait, and so now...
It's hard to delay.
Yeah,
It's
thanks.
So hard.
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 2. True or false?
Jason, kidding.
Kidding.
During digestion,
50-50.
during digestion, your body temperature rises.
Jason.
Matt?
Go ahead,
Matt.
Matt. Go ahead.
Yes. True.
That is correct. Okay.
Yeah. I was going to say false because I figured it was a trick question.
Okay.
Matt got it.
Okay. All right. This is the closest thing I could come to a chiropractor trivia question done in our style. True or false? Humans have the same number of neck vertebrae as giraffes.
Jason.
Jason?
True.
That is true.
Really?
I read that once.
Humans and giraffes have the same number of vertebrae.
That is freaking cool.
Giraffes, obviously a little bit longer.
A little bit different.
But
a little
yes.
Stacked a little differently.
Yeah. Okay.
We got tied up. All
Tied up, all three.
I'll have a point.
All
2
of
more
us,
questions to go.
Okay.
Come on, Matt.
Next question. What is brown fat?
Matt.
Matt?
Yeah, you go first.
So brown fat is the fat that we actually burn for energy. So white fat is the stuff that goes, it's in between the organs, that type of stuff. So it's not really the best thing. So the brown fat we can actually use more for energy.
That is
Nice
correct.
job. I didn't know that.
Okay. Last, final question. How many calories are in a cup of raw vegetables?
Jason.
Jason?
50.
No.
Can't be far off, right?
She did it twice on you.
My sound effects are a little screwed up.
Matt, do you have an idea?
Once was not enough for you.
I have no idea. I think it would depend on the vegetable. I mean, if it's avocado, it's a lot more than if it's broccoli.
Touche.
Yeah.
Touche. What
True.
vegetable is it?
This is a generic vegetable medley.
I'm gonna say 33, just because I like that number.
25.
Yeah. You have a guess,
that is
Matt?
not correct.
72.
Sorry, no points were awarded for that round. The correct arbitrary answer is 25.
25.
Yeah. All right.
The depends answer.
The shit question.
Yeah, the
Next
shit-
one.
That
All
was
right,
it. Matt
that was
won.
it. That was it. Yeah, Matt
Matt
won.
won.
Matt
Yeah,
won.
our guest-
Finally,
our
the
guest
guest won. Well, if there's ever going to be a guest who was going to win,
It was the brown fat's fault.
it was going to be this guy. He's pretty.
Yeah, he knows
pretty
his
sharp.
stuff, man. Wow. Well, thank you, Matt. Is there anything else that you want to leave our listeners with at all about what's coming up for you, about how we can follow you, or how we can work with you, Matt?
No, just, if you guys, anytime that people hit me up on Instagram or on the Facebook group, I'm pretty good about responding. So if you guys have questions, hit me up there and we'll see if I can help you out.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for everything that you've shared with us. Thanks for your expertise, and thank you for being here.
Yeah,
Thanks
really,
for your time.
Thanks, Dr. Chalmers. Thanks, Steve, for setting it up. We really enjoyed it, and we'll let you know when it's available. Recording, it'll be a few weeks, but we'll send you an email to let you know when it's out there.
Thanks.
Terrific,
Awesome.
and we'll repost it and everything. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Dig it.
Right
Dig
on.
it. Power Block,
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
See you guys.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
He won.
Yeah, well,
he
yeah.
won trivia.
He kicked our butt. He was a good find. I like him. He's a good guy.
Absolutely.
Knows a lot.
That information that he dropped was really, really
he's,
awesome.
He's the kind of chiropractor that every chiropractor should be, in my opinion.
Can be. Every chiropractor can be.
Should be.
Not shouldn't. Don't make them should their pants. Everybody can be that way.
I can, because otherwise I don't think that they're doing a whole lot.
Touche.
Yeah.
To each their own, Jay.
Yeah.
Either way, what was probably the coolest thing that you picked up from our session with Dr. Matt Chalmers?
Well, I mean, he's given advice on what vitamins you need. I mean, there might be some people who...
I'm going to add CoQ10 into my everyday routine.
Is that legal?
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of changes in the law, I guess. No, he gave advice on real advice.
Yes.
This is the stuff that you should be putting into your body. And I like, the analogy, and he's 100% right. And I'm even probably guilty of doing what he wouldn't necessarily like, is, he did the analogy of the running back, defensive back, and you train differently for different positions. And that's true. So, like, if you're going to the gym, and it's basically just changing your mindset. Okay, I'm training just for general maintenance or whatever, right? So, but okay, that's still training. That's different than working out. I think that was a nice thing to.
What I really liked was the full range of motion. That every exercise has two directions, where you have the contraction and then, of course, the resistance.
Yeah.
I really thought that was awesome, and I needed that reminder as well for my own workouts.
I'm glad. Good. I'm glad you did, because I don't watch anybody else work out ever like he did. I guess and it's hard not
his
to.
face doesn't hide it.
But like. It's been beaten to me for years, lower, all that stuff. So, but he is right. There probably is a lot of people out there that need to be reminded.
Absolutely.
That,
Well, when you lift the weight and then you just drop it, like that's not doing both directions. So I really enjoyed him. Great guest. Thanks for getting him on, Jason.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
Powerblock.com.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I was going. Thanks for sharing, supporting, subscribing. Thanks for being a part of this squad. Powerblock.com, where you can find the world's best adjustable dumbbell, as well as kettlebells, battle ropes.
Dan, how are those
yoga mats?
How are those shipping charged nowadays? Because Powerblock.com, people are still buying stuff's flying off the shelves, e-commerce wise, right?
Yeah.
You can don't let the shipping get you down. If you don't want to pay the shipping, you can go to the retailer. You can go to Dick's Sporting Goods. You can go to a Johnson Health Tech or some. You can find it in your area. Something you can drive to. Yeah. Most places in the country.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of people that are like, no, give me those dumbbells. I'll pay the few bucks shipping, and I have them in a couple days. And
we have a store locator on powerblock.com too, don't we?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure
so you can go try them before you buy them and all that jazz. There's tons of different options to choose from. I love my Sport 24s, P.S. I absolutely love them. I bring them with me everywhere.
Why don't you marry him?
I might. Yeah. Kitty Powerblock. Yeah? That's the name change I'm going to do when you least expect it.
I like True Act.
Kitty Powerblock. All right, Jason. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
Thanks, everybody. See you.
See you next week.